All right, greetings everybody. Welcome to week 4. Chef Eric is back with us, thank goodness. Class, happy to have you all here with us. Happy Wednesday, everybody. How's everybody doing? Some thumbs up? All right, solid. Staying warm, staying safe, staying healthy, packing the vitamins, right? Keep those nutrients coming in, stay hydrated.
Yep.
All right. Stay safe out there. That's what we want to see and do. So a few other things just to mention. This week, there was a request about a demo happening. This week, we will have a demo in replace of our study hall. So same time, same place, online, except we will be with Chef Kathy, who is in another farm to table class with Chef Kathy and Chef Khadijah, and I believe Chef Shantae, but I'm not sure as well. I think that they're all in a class in other classes together, and Chef Kathy is going to be demonstrating the correct way on making a key ingredient in this week's etouffee, the chocolate roux. All right.
Chocolate.
So chocolate.
Not tan, not
No.
caramel.
No.
Not blonde.
Not blonde. Chocolate. Dark,
Hershey.
rich chocolate.
Hershey bar.
Exactly. Hershey bar. Dark chocolate, glossy, shiny, thin. All right. We're going to get down into the, nope, not milk chocolate.
Nope.
Dark.
Even milk is just too light.
Too light.
For this etouffee, it is dark.
Before we hop into this, we've got so many cool things to talk about. Well, what's the purpose of roux? What does roux do? What does any roux do?
It's a thickener.
It's a thickener. Excellent. Now, what happens the more we cook a roux? Does that make it have more thickening power or less thickening power?
Oh, it makes it darker.
It makes it darker, yes. But what about the thickening power?
It gives it more thickener.
Well, the more we cook it, the less thickening power it has. So when we start getting just our fat and flour together, and we just are getting that barely starting a roux, okay? That's after, a few minutes, that's when it has its most thickening power, okay?
That's when it's going to bind
and thicken
gallons.
Exactly. As soon as we start cooking that out, cooking it, it itself gets thinner, okay? And it no longer has the thickening capabilities and power that it once had. Even if we're starting off with the same amount of flour and the same amount of fat, the more we cook it, the darker it gets, the less thickening of power it has. Now, what does it have though? It has so much more flavor.
That's the flavor.
It has flavor. Without cooking it and taking it to these levels, you will never have depthness in an etouffee. You'll have a thick, hot mess, pale, lackluster, nasty looking etouffee.
Yep.
You cook that roux, and now all of a sudden, whoa, where did this super silky texture come from? Because the thickening power is going to be different, right? It's not going to have that tackiness, right? That rich, that mouthfeel coating. No, it's going to be all about the flavor with just mild thickening capabilities. Okay, mild thickening capabilities. It's just going to be there. It's just going to thicken it up a little bit. It's not going to turn it into a thick, rich sauce or soup.
And as Noah said, it does make it nuttier. It gives that flavor that it's giving. As you're cooking the butter, as you're cooking the flour, it's getting nuttier and nuttier. And that's the flavor you want for your etouffee. If you've never had etouffee, you are going to enjoy this assignment. If you've had it, I want to know how different it is from where you've had it before.
Yes, chef.
Until I actually went to Louisiana and had it made and watched it being made. And was sitting there like, how much longer is he going to cook this roux? And just watching slow cooked, but watching it get darker and darker. And then when I had it the first time, I was like, holy crap, I've been making it wrong my whole life.
Couldn't agree with more. And remember, class, just like we've talked about this in world cuisines, you've heard it a million times around a bolognese in Italy is going to be different from the house to house, and etouffee is going to be different from house to house. All right. So this arroz con pollo is one of the classic dishes, chicken and rice, literally everywhere around the world. Okay.
Yep.
Everywhere. Right? Who doesn't have chicken and rice? I don't know who doesn't have chicken and rice. But arroz con pollo specifically has some slightly different modifications, each variation. So again, these recipes, we want you to execute as we have written them in the recipes, as they are described, and as we will give you key tips and insighted ways of getting this to the, the finished product that we're looking for. If you want to, we're going to talk about a few modifications that you can make throughout this recipe with the protein, but otherwise just make this and then tell us, like Chef Eric said, maybe you grew up with eating etouffee. Maybe your etouffee is different. Maybe this one is not. Maybe you've never had anything, right? And remember, etouffee is similar, is different than gumbo, right? We're talking about two different dishes here, okay? Because some people think, oh yeah, I've had that. Well, gumbo is not etouffee, okay? Etouffee is not gumbo. Otherwise, it'd be called the same thing. So get it right. We are talking about sustainability. I want to get into this, but I want to make sure that we cover the recipes first. And I do want to make sure, though, on an important note, if you are having tight budgets, have the recipe, okay? Look at what you have in the pantry, okay? Make sure that you're not buying anything that you already have,
Yep.
right? If there's something that is really, that we could do without, omit that. If you are having really difficult issues with financial issues, first of all, and I'm just going to say this, the restaurant industry is literally begging people to come work for them. This is our industry. Maybe you don't have any experience yet. Talk about a perfect opportunity to get your foot wet, okay? Get your foot in the door. Everywhere is hiring. Everybody is looking for workers. People are adding bonuses like you wouldn't believe.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I'm not even joking about this. Like, I wish I was. I wish these vacancies were open when I started. Maybe I could have had a higher pay. Okay. Because the pay that people are getting for entry level is like way beyond what I started with. Okay.
I mean,
so
Krispy
get
Kreme
out there.
Donuts is giving
What's
a
that?
$500 signing bonus. Krispy Kreme donuts.
Yeah.
Seriously?
So go get a job in the industry. That's all I'm going to say. And have recipes and reach out if you're looking for substitutions. All
Yes.
right. Chef, you want to hop into those recipes, or I know you wanted to show something as well.
I'm gonna show a quick video, kind of what we were talking about last week. How to stay humble, how chefs need to stay humble. This is probably one of the most humbling experiences ever, and it's from one of some of y'all's favorite chef. So I'm going to share my screen real quick, and we're gonna take a quick laugh. That's what we're gonna do. So hold on a minute, and let me share my screen. Nope, that's not it. Here we go.
Say, presentation-wise. Yeah.
I started back at the beginning.
Wait. Nanda's mine. Now, again, I have to say, presentation-wise, yeah. Yours looks nice, but doesn't blow me away. However,
Cooked in the middle? Yeah.
is that cooked in the middle?
Yeah.
Oh, shit. No, it's not actually. All right, smart ass. 2 minutes, please. How do you know that wasn't cooked in the middle?
From my angle, you can see it sinking in the middle. Titanic.
Okay. Wait. Nanda's
Now.
mine. Now, again, I have to say,
What does that tell you?
presentation-wise, yeah.
What does that tell you?
That even good chefs mess up.
Even great chefs. Look, your very first chef, as I embarrassed a chef at a discussion at one of my schools that I was talking to, your very first chef was your mom. That was your very first chef. That's the first person to ever feed you. That's the first person that may have gotten you interested in cooking. My grandmother, all my aunts cook. I do not question anything they do. Not a thing. If they bring me something, after a while, once I started getting really good and start cooking in a couple of certain places, my mom didn't want to cook for me anymore. And I told her, I said, look, let me explain something to you. Look at me. 6'3", 180 pounds of, solid man back then. I was like, you created this with your food. Never doubt what you do. But we also must remember there's people that was before us that did things. Now, Gordon was real comfortable to be like, oh yeah, hey mom, yeah, it just doesn't really blow me away. But yeah, she knew his was raw. So does she have to be a chef to know that? No, she just has to be an experienced cook. So always keep yourself humble. All right. Let's go ahead and get into the recipes, which is the important part. But yeah, that every time I see that video, I just crack up because I think it is so important. Because you do get a lot of people that get, they get a little bit high on themselves. Like, oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing it. No. She started you off. And yeah, he kind of did a little side hand thing, compliment or whatever. But you see that she was actually right. He needed about 2 more minutes. So let's jump into the recipes. First thing we're going to do is the arroz con pollo. Oh, I'm going to tell you, probably one of the most flavorful rices ever. Right now, chicken thighs are cheaper. So it might be harder for you to find chicken thighs. They are the cheapest meat right now. And bone-in is even cheaper than boneless. If you cannot find bone-in chicken thighs, yes, use the boneless, but adjust your cooking or adjust your cooking time because it's going to cook faster since you don't have the bone in there. All right.
Exactly. I'm just going to follow up with that, Chef. We had a request in the contents about using breast. Same thing. If you're going to use breast, hopefully they're bone in. If not, you have to drastically change that cooking time. Other you're going to get dry chicken breast. And what is worse than a dry chicken breast? I don't think anything.
Nothing.
I mean, it's just like, don't even eat it.
It's like you can't even soak it in water to once it's overcooked.
Yeah, there's no rehydrating that. Once the textures are gone, it's gone, and those fibers are really distinct. So you do have to reduce that cooking time on that. All right, Chef, hit it.
So what you're going to use? You're going to use chicken thighs, bone in, skin on. Skin on is also going to keep what? It's going to keep that moisture. Okay, paprika, vegetable oil. Chef said earlier, check your pantry. You probably have all of this stuff already in there in some form. So you got your paprika, you got your salad, your vegetable oil, salt, pepper, Spanish style chorizo. Chef wanted to say a couple of things about that. Now it is optional.
Yeah, it is 100% optional. So if you don't eat pork, take it out. If you want to use a turkey, a smoked turkey product instead, go for it. What we don't want to see is Mexican chorizo. Okay, Mexican chorizo is a raw, uncooked sausage, which has a completely different flavor profile. Okay, so it has cumin in there. All right, that's not what we're looking for in this specific recipe. So ham, you could even do a little bit of bacon to add a little bit of that smokiness, right? A little salt in there, but no raw sausage. Okay, if you're doing a smoked sausage, great, like andouille, cool, great.
Oh, yeah.
Throw that in there, delicious. But again, no raw sausage. It's just gonna add a lot of extra fat to your finished dish as well.
And it's gonna make it like you see it beautifully on this plate. You don't see any grease seeping out. You're gonna see some grease if you use that. Ugh, yeah. So you got yellow onion, red bell pepper, green bell pepper, garlic, canned diced tomatoes, tomato paste. So I don't expect messages. Chef, can I use canned tomatoes? It says right here, you can use canned diced tomatoes. Tomato paste, chicken stock. I would go for the no salt or low sodium because trust me, with the sausage and everything else, you're going to have the flavor there. Okay. You're going to have the sodium. Long grain white rice. Turkey versions of any of these can be substituted for pork. All right. The directions are pretty well simple. You're just going to season the chicken thighs, salt, pepper, heavy bottom pot. All right. Heat oil over a high medium heat, keeping an eye on your heat. Brown your chicken thighs, both sides, remove, set them to the side. Turn the heat down. Add the chorizo if you're using. Add your onion, your green bell pepper, your red pepper, and just sweat. Remember, sweat is a little lower temperature. So you just want to sweat. You want to draw out the moisture. You want to draw out the sugars. Add garlic and tomato paste. Cook until deep and red color. Add your diced tomatoes and stock. Bring it to a simmer. All right, a simmer, not a boil. If it's popping and coming out of the pan, it's too high. Nice simmer. Shimmer on top. So go ahead and stir in the rice. And then add your chicken. Skin side up. So that nice crisp that you got on the chicken skin, you want to serve it up just like you see it on the plate. Go ahead and turn the heat to low, cover and simmer until the chicken is internally cooked fully to 165. All right. And your rice is tender. If your chicken's cooked, but your rice isn't tender, what do? Take the chicken out, keep the rice in. All right. Remove from the heat and just let it set for 5 minutes. Let it set to marinate the flavors. Okay. Chicken can be removed and pulled from the bone. You can serve it like you see in the picture here, or you can cut the chicken up. I prefer to cut my chicken up at the table. All right. Mikael, what you got?
Chef, got a couple of questions for you. The first one, real quick.
Yep.
Bell peppers and tomatoes. I cannot do those. They will put me in the hospital. So definitely I won't use either one of those. But do I just leave them out, or would I be a substitute for those?
Ooh. So bell peppers, I don't have a problem with you leaving out. The tomato is going to change the product, though. What's best for?
And normally when if there's no tomatoes, I suggest red peppers. But if you're out on red peppers and tomatoes, all bell peppers, Mikhail, you're out on?
Extremely. Okay.
Okay.
And pimentos are just that would be too much pimento.
too much pimento, too much pepper.
Yeah, way too much.
You're gonna need a little bit for that tomato paste. That's gonna add some of that color. The color isn't,
Here's the thing. You got anybody or you're still on the road?
Yeah, I go home on the weekends. I'm
Okay.
home on Saturday and leave back out on Monday morning.
Who do you have at home, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, I live in Georgia where my wife is, but I do the cooking class in Arkansas every week where my mom is. So she would eat it. It's just I couldn't definitely touch it at all.
Could you cut it down to one portion and just make it for her?
I probably could do that.
I know you're not going to be able to taste it, so it's going to be a little, it's going to be, you got to leave that up to mom. But honestly, because I really would like to see you make this, but I really don't want to see you, I don't want to see you gone. I want to see you in class.
Exactly.
So if you could make this for mom and say the etouffee.
Increase onion, like add more onion, honestly.
Okay.
For the etouffee, it's the Holy Trinity, which is celery, green bell pepper, and onion. Just omit the green bell pepper and add a little bit more celery and onion.
Or do some yellow onion and do some red onion. So you give yourself a little bit of color contrast, and like Chef said, add a little bit more celery too.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I would do the etouffee for you, and if mama wants some, but yeah, I would just do figure out the one portion and do that for mama. Okay. And that way, at least you're completing the assignment. Because honestly, trying to eat these two things together anyway, you're going to be stuffed.
Right.
So,
right.
You can kind of taste your skills out. See, and that kind of helps with the video. You let mom taste it. Mom give you a little bit of insight, and then, because you're probably
Okay.
not going to make this too much or too often with the ingredients that are in there.
Right. All right. Thank
All
you,
right.
Chef.
Not a problem. All right, let me stop that real quick so we can get to the etouffee. Any other questions on the arroz con pollo? Nothing? Okay. Let me go real quick. One of my favorites, like I said, it didn't start that way. I mean, I always used to get, good etouffee. You go down to Louisiana, I had a cook that always wanted to make it. But I tell you what, it wasn't until I went to Louisiana when I realized that we were not making it right. And it all starts with that roux. So etouffee, it yields 4 servings. Same thing, chicken thighs, bone in. So let's say you get a pack of, right now, I think the smallest pack I've seen of chicken thighs is about 8. So this is perfect. I'm not saying you have to make all 4 servings. I'm not, like Chef said, we can cut it in half. So you can do 2 with the arroz con pollo. You can do 2 with the etouffee. But you want 2 or 4 chicken thighs, bone in, skin on, same thing. Thyme leaves, cayenne, check the pantry. Guaranteed you got half of the stuff in there, if not all of it, except for maybe 1. Now the cayenne is optional. But to be honest with you, if you're making something Cajun, cayenne's kind of the thing you want in there. All right, garlic powder, onion powder, smoked paprika, salt, black pepper. I know I'm going to get the question, Chef, can't find smoked paprika. Use regular. If you can find it, smoked or Spanish. Either one of those two give you a nice flavor. Vegetable canola oil, AP flour, and Chef just mentioned the Trinity, celery, onion, green bell pepper, garlic. You have an aversion to bell pepper, leave it out. Add more onion and garlic. Even change up your onions. If you have an aversion to onions, do it the reverse way. More celery, more green bell pepper. You got garlic minced, chicken stock, of course, same thing, low or no salt. Worcestershire sauce, hot sauce. Ooh, I'm not even going to get into this argument because, everybody likes theirs. Crystal,
Agreed, Jeff.
Louisiana, or Tabasco. I'm a Frank's man. I'm sorry, I'm a Frank's man. But for this recipe, I would use either Louisiana, it's just me, or Tabasco. I think Crystal just has a little bit too much sodium. That's just my opinion. 4 servings of white rice, green onion, thinly sliced for garnish. So you're going to combine your thyme, your cayenne, your garlic powder, your onion powder, smoked paprika in a bowl. You're going to season the chicken on both sides. Season, people, not sprinkle. Some people's seasoning technique needs some work, but season, all right? That's your flavor. That's where your flavor is going to come from. In a large, heavy bottom pot, you're going to heat oil, medium-high heat, brown the chicken thighs, both sides. Remove from the pan, set aside. If you're using cut boneless chicken, sausage, shellfish, or any other boneless protein, start at step 5. Add the protein and seasoning at step 10 because it's going to cook fast. It's letting you know right there. That's what that note is for. So reduce the heat to medium, whisk in the flour, make your roux. Should be the consistency of wet sand. Anybody who's ever been to the beach, if you've potted plants, you know what wet sand or wet dirt looks like. Cook your roux, stirring continuously. This is not I can leave it on the stove and walk away. Roux will burn on you like that. No, no forgiving, no, no second guesses. It will burn on you. Cook the roux continuously till a deep brown color.
And this is when I'm going to hop in with you, Chef. I've got a visual to show
Hop
it.
on in, Chef.
All right.
Hop on in. because I'm telling you that is
Class, we have seen it too much. We would not be drilling this home if
I have
we
seen way
didn't
too
know what
many-
we were talking about.
I've seen way too many blonde roos.
This is one of my favorites. If you mess up, you will see this in your feedback video, and I will tell you.
And there we go. This is
Where do we start? All right, we're starting it. We're rolling. We're getting to that blonde, the blonde, that nut. Those nutty notes are starting to come out. Thickening power is slightly starting to decrease, right? Chestnut, we're arriving at chestnut stage, right? It's getting a little bit deeper, a little bit nuttier. Keep going. Again, low and slow. Like Chef Eric said, you got to be on this route like, I don't even know, just stuck on it. All right. That's what you have to
stuck
be.
on it.
Just do not walk away. Control that heat. Okay. And you want to keep on going till you get this nice dark, somewhere between these two. We're okay with either of these. Either of these.
If you've ever been to a function where you got a chocolate fountain, that is what you need to have in that pan.
Exactly.
A chocolate fountain.
Okay.
And Ruth, you said this is going to test your patience. Well, you know what? It needs to be tested because I'm going to tell you, you need this. You need this because I'm telling you, any other way, you're going to mess it up.
Exactly. So we start off with that white, that blonde, we hit next blonde, cuts into that medium brown, it goes in chestnut in between, and then we get dark brown chocolate roux. And that is what we're looking for. All right. Back to you, chef.
Just give me my chocolate sauce. That's all I'm asking.
Yeah, that's what we needed. All right. Like there's no escapes now.
Now, and the reason being for that is you are going to smell it. Every stage that chef just went through, the blonde roux, you're going to, okay, yeah, you'll get the smell on that. When you start getting into those nuttier notes and those darker notes, you're going to be like, wow, okay, yeah, I can smell that. And that smell translates into so much flavor. The flavor that it packs into this etouffee is phenomenal. All right, so cooking the roux till we get to a deep brown color, chocolate. You're going to add in your celery, your onion, your bell pepper. You're going to cook until tender. And trust me, it might do a little bubble up thing real quick. Just keep stirring, keep stirring. You're going to add your garlic, your Worcestershire, your hot sauce, and your stock. Stir to combine. You're going to add the chicken back to the pan. Turn the heat to low, cover, simmer until the chicken is cooked. 165. It's approximately 20 to 25 minutes. Whenever we give an approximate, make sure you're checking 10-minute increments. Just check it because you might have it up too high. Okay. Also remember, alternate proteins. Anything boneless is going to cook faster. You do not want to overcook. Actually, the last thing I would put in, believe it or not, would be your crawfish or your shrimp, because it's going to cook quick. And you do not want rubbery shrimp when you've just imparted all that flavor into this etouffee. Remove the chicken from the pan. Increase the heat to help reduce the liquid consistency. So when you take out the chicken, you're taking everything out. Well, all the proteins. Go ahead and reduce the liquid. Taste, season, adjust as necessary. Remove the chicken from the bone. Add everything back to the pan. Serve over white rice. Enjoy. Come back next week and tell us how great it was and that you listened. We'll know if you listened because we'll see your roux.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that is definitely one of the photos, and I'm telling you, no, don't give me any excuses for blonde, please. If you leave it at blonde, I'm not even going to speak to you next week.
We don't want to see it.
That's it.
Any questions regarding these recipes, class? Otherwise, we're going to hop into sustainability, which is awesome.
Noah is right. It smells like bread when it starts, but it should not smell like bread when it ends.
And nutty and popcorn and roasted by that end time, right? Really starts to develop and change. All right, so sustainability, class. Let's start talking about this. All right, so when we're thinking about a restaurant, let's just put ourselves in a restaurant right now, okay? What do we, when we leave for the end of the day, we've cleaned everything up and We turn off those lights, lock the door. What's still running? What resources are still burning in the background?
The background generator.
A backup generator, yeah. LaSalle,
Lights.
Your freezers, your walk-ins, your pallet from your to your gas. You have the boiler is on. Your lights is still there because you have to have your emergency lights inside the building.
yeah,
So you have the alarm. You have a whole bunch of things going, whether you know it or not.
exactly, exactly. Great job, LaSalle. We've got the walk-in, the fridge, pilot lights running. We've got in the chat, fridge, electricity. Let's see, I think that was all that was in the fridge. Freezers, right? The ice machine, okay? What about the AC or the heat? You've got, if you're in a really hot area, trust me, you're not shutting off that AC because it's going to cost way too much to get that thing up and running against down. You might drop it a few degrees, but most likely you're not even doing that. And if you're in a really cold place, you need to keep the heat on because your pipes might freeze. Okay, so all of these resources are going in there. What other type of resources do we use in a restaurant? We just kind of mentioned some, like think about natural resources. I want you to start thinking about what natural resources are. Mention water, gas,
Sun rays.
well, sun rays are a natural resource 100%, and we could talk about how we can utilize those later, but we want to think about what we're using. Food, yes, exactly. Food resources, right? What about we need to wash our hands constantly in a restaurant, right? Paper, we think we go through a lot of paper towels.
Oh dear God.
It's insane. Not just in the kitchen for cleaning up mess or everything, cleaning.
And now
think
hand
about-
sanitizer.
Hand sanitizer, now, yeah. Think about those restrooms. Now, what did we see recently in the past few years where they said, okay, let's move away from paper towels. We're gonna, because right, paper is a lot. We're using trees. And what did they switch to?
They switched to the hand dryers now. The
Hand
automatic
dryers.
hand dryers.
Right? There are some pros and cons to that. One, there's one theory that just, if you don't properly wash your hands, if you're not doing the full 20 to 5, seconds there with warm water, that's spraying all those bacteria elsewhere, right? Plus, guess what? If we don't have a paper towel in the bathroom, how am I supposed to open the door?
Because you still got germs on the handle.
No,
With your
Right.
sleeve.
some restaurants now are putting the foot stab
Foot
at
pedal.
the bottom where you can
Exactly.
grab with your feet and open the door and keep going.
Yep.
Exactly, which has only really come out because of COVID, but that is great. That's going to help, I think, moving forward. But remember, to properly use the bathroom after when you're working in the kitchen, right? And this goes for everybody, but you should be taking the paper, you wash and dry your hands, and you just spend time washing and cleaning your hands. You do not want to touch a handle that potentially somebody else touched without washing their hands. You need a paper towel, open that up, drop that in the waste bin, and walk in to the kitchen, right? So if you are going to do that switch, right? If you're saying, hey, you know what? I want to have a hand dryer. Great. Make sure you have the option of also having paper towels in there as well. Okay. Another thing we talked about, another resource, water. Who has ever seen those drops on a toilet handle? 1 drop versus 2 drops. Has anybody seen this? What does anybody know what that means?
No clue.
Okay, it's about water flow. So for each time you flush a toilet, I think it's like 10 gallons of water, 7 to 10 gallons of water. Okay, so there's high flow and low flow. So the fewer drops means you don't need as much water to like 1 drop of water is less water, so it's low flow. There are low flow or high flow adapters for your, guess what? We're washing a lot of dishes in there, right?
Yeah.
A lot of dishes in the dish pit. Well, if I don't need soup, if I can still create force without high flow water, I can conserve water. Anybody who lives on the West Coast, excuse me, know that there are water issues, right? Droughts are a real thing.
Texas too.
Texas as well, south, southwest, and west, right? You're probably seeing the most drought issues there. Okay, water, conserving water. If you're not living in like Chicago, where I'm from, where we just got a huge lake that we can get everything that's not even thought of as an issue, right? You got to think about where you're from, where different areas have different resources that they can utilize. We're talking about solar, right? Sun rays. Now, if you live in a really sunny place, maybe it would make sense to put solar panels on your restaurant, cut down those electricity costs.
Plus, you conserve energy and you can sell some of that back to the government.
Exactly.
If they pay you right.
Yes. Now, I want to talk about one other thing. I'm going to bring up this report that was from the NRA. And for those of you who don't know what the NRA is, that's the National Restaurant Association. Okay. That's the only NRA we talk about here. And the only FBI we talk about here is foodborne illnesses.
That's
so
it.
Get it right. I don't want to hear anything else. All right. So, I'm serious. I'm serious.
It's good though.
Yeah. So NRA, they have a show every May in Chicago that is probably one of the coolest shows in, if you ever get a chance or you ever want to go to Chicago, plan a trip around then and hit up the NRA show. You will eat and drink well. You will learn so much. You will see so much about technology, food, trends in the industry, everything. I think that I don't have this in the right viewing mode.
Research those classes that they give, because I swear to goodness, there's so many classes that people don't even know exist. And even though it's a little costly, it's not overly costly. I don't think it is.
Exactly.
The amount of knowledge that flows through that place, the amount of connections you get, it is probably one of the only conferences I would ever say that's 100% worth it.
Agreed. It's totally worth it. 100%. And it's like there, you can go into so many different topics there. It's great. So this is some interesting thing. Again, the NRA puts out a lot of the nation's restaurants news, puts out a lot of great information. If you're not, subscribing to those emails, get them. It helps you stay on top of the industry, right? I'm not hands-on in the industry as much as I used to be, but I stay in tune with all my emails and seeing what's going on in the industry constantly, what's trending, what things are leaning in. So this is super interesting. Recycling. All right. Recycling is huge. How much stuff do we get in the restaurant that comes in recyclable containers?
Just about everything we got.
All right. Cardboard boxes, tin cans, plastic jugs. Not a lot of glass. You see some glass for more specialty items and products, but glass shouldn't be in the kitchen anyhow.
Yeah.
A few things come in glass, but again, it's rare.
Pickle jars, and I mean, most of your salad dressings now all plastic.
Exactly.
Even your mayonnaises, your mustards.
Some stuff front of the house, you're going to have dealing with a lot more glass with wine bottles, beer bottles, things like that. So that's something to consider, right? We're talking about front of the house and the back of the house. This is not, remember, it is without front of the house, the back of the house does not survive. Without back of the house, the front of the house does not survive. We need both to work together, and we need to be accountable for both things, right? If you're ever in a position where you are the head manager in the back, make sure that you are working with your front of the house manager, that y'all are on the same page, because it's how you're going to save money.
Yep. A lot of restaurants are going with boxed wine too.
Oh yeah, it saves, that's the whole thing. It shaves on, it's how you're packaging it, right? Bottles don't pack well, but boxes do, and it reduces waste. But let's take a look at some of these facts, right? And think about recyclability, right? What systems there are in place. Facts at a glance, restaurants recycle about 65% of cardboard and paper. Oh, fats, oils, and grease. What do we do? Does anybody know what can be turned into that old fryer oil? Who's heard of it? Who knows it? Who's a hippie like me? No, I'm just kidding.
Is it fertilizer?
Nope, but I like your guess. Keep on going. Chef Eric knows.
Manure.
LaSalle, I know you had your hand up from before. I don't know if you want to answer this one.
Nah.
Okay.
Biofuel.
Biofuel, who said
There
it?
we go.
I did, Adam.
Yes, Adam. Yeah, biofuel. Exactly. That stuff can basically get cleaned, changed, and turn into essentially diesel. Run trucks off that, right?
Yep.
Why not?
That in itself is a beautiful thing. So you got trucks delivering fats and oils to you. You're recycling so that they can bring more stuff to you, and you're fueling their trucks.
Hence, sustainable.
Sustainability.
Sustainability means it keeps going, like Chef Eric was talking about. Yep, otherwise it stops. Aluminum or metal cans, about 29%, rigid plastic, 29%, glass, 26%. All right.
Which is a shame because aluminum, I remember as a kid, they had, like, you could walk up a bag full of cans and 50 cents, $1, that was your little play money.
Yeah, I don't know why. I mean, it still goes down in some places, but I don't know. So
I mean, they still have the station, where I grew up, but kids don't. I don't know. I guess they want to throw their cans away, which is a waste.
Totally. Food waste sustainability. So we're going to keep on talking about this. And so I don't want to go into a huge one with food waste, because we'll talk about ways that we can work on food utilization going later on in the class. But something to really think about, right? Top and tailing when you're prepping your veg, not wasting. Okay. If you've got watermelons and you have to you're buying the whole watermelon, right? And you've got the rind. Well, what can you do with that rind? You can pickle it, you can compress it, right? It's edible. What are you doing with the zest on all of your citrus that's coming in to make your lemon pound cake? Are you taking that zest and utilizing it in another dish? Are you using it in front of the house at the bar? Are you dehydrating things? How are you utilizing this? You're paying for it. Remember, you're paying for that whole product.
Whole product usage.
You can use the zest in the kitchen on your foods and take the liquids and drain them into a pitcher. And you can use the lemon juice in the front bar.
Exactly.
Like Chef just said, if you're working with your front of the house, this is what you're doing. It's like, oh yeah, we know you need lemon slices out there. We know that we need that for the bar. But what are you doing with that little end? And it's always that little end piece. People are like, oh, well, no, they're not going to use this. Well, yeah. If you cut up 10 lemons and I've got 2 end pieces, that's a lot of zest. That's lemon chicken topping right there.
Exactly. Preserved lemons. Man, I would take those ends.
Oh, dear God, yes.
There, preserved lemons. You chop that up, throw that in a lemon chicken piccata, boom, good to go, right? Easy, okay? You just saved money. You're turning money that would normally be wasted, going down the drain, into a profit.
Exactly.
Okay. Now, what else? So there's obviously composting, right? Food waste. You have the option, depending upon if you build a relationship. Oh, oopsies. You build a relationship with your, I'm going to pull this back up, sorry, and then keep flicking. If you build a relationship with your local farmers, maybe a pig farmer is going to want to eat that food waste. Okay. That's perfect. All right. Donating. We're going to talk about that in a second. Donating. If you donate leftover food, say you prep for a party, they buy out all the food. You're going to buy the food they don't eat it all and they don't want to take it home. What do you do with that? You can offer it to your staff. Hey, everybody, we got some sandwiches left over from the party. Let's dig in after work, enjoy. Or if it's still totally edible and wonderful, I worked with a company called 0%, which was working on getting food that was totally edible, 100% delicious, but did not meet the standards of the company, meaning that it had been, for example, Italy, the big, Italian restaurant, supermarket place, they only sell freshly made bread. And they overmake their bread every day. So we would have bags and bags. I'm talking about huge garbage bags full of Italy bread. This is art, like amazing bread. Well, guess what? We found a loophole. We found out that guess who needs bread? Lots of different halfway houses, right? Shelters. Okay. And guess what? That bread, turn it into croutons, turn it into bread pudding, right? So if you're thinking about in-house and you make bread, think about how, and you get a little bit stale, how can you salvage that? Turn it into bread pudding, turn it into croutons. If you're at a point where you don't have the labor to do that, think about donating in goodwill, okay? That it means it's high quality leftover food that's still totally edible. There's usually a third party that can be a part of this and connecting your staff, your restaurant to somebody that's in need, okay? So it's about donating, okay?
And the one thing about that bread, you just can't serve it as bread again. So like you can't take it to your restaurant and slice it up and serve it as bread. But by taking it, turning it into something else, croutons, you're adding heat, killing germs. Bread pudding, do I even need to go there?
Hello.
Totally changing it up, adding heat. So like Chef said, being able to think on your feet and know, hey, you know what? I can take that bread. I could use that bread for this. I could use this for this. Knowing other things that you can do. That's part of being a chef. That's one of the most important parts of being in that system to where you're like, hey man, look, I got all this beautiful bread over here. I'm only probably going to use 25% of it. Can you use this for blah, 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 blah. So knowing your competitors, knowing what they're doing, knowing the different things that they can do. All together, we help this cycle, this recycle of sustainability.
Exactly. You started talking, Chef, and then I just started going down the old room. I'm like, breadcrumbs. Breadcrumbs can go into that meatloaf, can go into the meatballs, can go as a topping on your pasta dish, right? Where else can we use it? I mean, it just starts
So many different
going.
things.
All right. Bread soup, panzanella salad. Okay.
Bread soup.
Yes. Deliciousness.
See, now I'm getting hungry.
I know, that's the whole point. We got to get hungry, got to get excited, get hungry. Now, this I think is interesting. And this I think you all will take note of and maybe take heed on this, okay? Who tracks food waste? About half of restaurants track food waste. Nearly half of restaurant operators say they track the amount of the food waste their business generates. Now, this is the percent of restaurant operators by type of operation who say they track their food waste in their restaurant. Go figure. Who's tracking this the most?
Franchises and chains.
Chains and franchises. What do we know that chains and franchises obviously do well? Making that money,
Yep.
right? Otherwise they wouldn't be around. So shouldn't we be thinking how to, some things we want to be like, you know, chains and franchises. Now it's easier because maybe, oh, well, you've got a system, you've got multiple locations, you have a setup in place. We'll start talking with your other local restaurateurs. Let's figure something out.
Yep.
We got to be the momentum too.
One of the greatest things Chef mentioned earlier was farmers. Pigs will eat everything and anything. If you have several restaurants that I worked at, we had what we call the trough, and that's where all the food went. You didn't put plastic in there, you didn't put papers in there, even though pigs will probably tear up some paper towels, but you want to put everything in there that's edible, everything. And he would come, we'd set it over to the side, and he would come once a week, and he would dump the container, rinse the container out, everything. He would take all that, and that was his slop bucket. And I'm telling you, it benefited him. It helped us.
Think about that. You have to pay for your waste getting picked up. So if you can pay, you don't have to pay for somebody to pick that up. Yeah, that's what you want.
And that is always your heavy. I don't care. I don't care what you put in the trash. That's your heaviest waste. You can say, oh, well, you know, we had aluminum cans.
No,
nothing weighs more than I can get a small trash can of food and a big trash can of cans. And I guarantee you won't pick that big trash can of food up.
100%. This is interesting. Before we get to you, Shannon, 1 second, I see your hand up. Why do we think people might not compost? Okay, this is a little bit dated. This is from 2017 and we just crossed into 2022. So it's about 4 years old right now. But so things are
changed much.
Things are changing, but not much. Okay. But one of the biggest reasons is that not oopsies, hold on.
Some people just may not know that you can.
Yeah. Well, it was actually not having a facility, right? Lack of a composting facility. Well, that's again, those things are changing. Times are changing. You can implement that. It takes education to implement to your staff sorting, but all of these things help to cut back on costs. All right. Insufficient space. Of course, a lot of kitchens are super tight. Transportation constraints, don't know how to get started. 26%. That's a lot. We need to be that revolution, right? We need to be the change that we see in restaurants. Past or odor concerns, that's vague, but that's fair. However, if you're doing it right, it's going to get picked up frequent enough. You're not even going to do it. You have odor concerns anyhow if you have trash in the back. Okay, so getting rid of it is going to be better. And then others don't know. All right, I'm just going to finish this slideshow off, and then we will get into your questions, Shannon. Donating leftover food, right? Again, these are just some facts and statistics. Percentages of why table surface versus independent or chain. Concerned about the liability, 54%. But as we said, if you donate it in goodwill to a charity and it is all been temperature controlled the whole time, you shouldn't be, you know, you don't have a liability with that. Check with your local state laws and local laws, but you should be good. And all these other ones, too complicated and time consuming for sure, but not if you have a company, a third party operator that's coming and picking this up and we're doing all the other factors. Okay.
Cool.
It's really cool. Plus it's a tax write-off, just saying.
Crystal has one at home, and Maria says California is starting at the beginning of the year to have them compost.
Awesome.
It's California. They always start something good.
Always doing it. Here we go into a little bit more about water saving, low flush toilets, faucet aerators, high efficiency pre-rinse spray values, okay? Tankless water heater, motion activated toilets or faucets, waterless urinals, all right? Different things, different ways. Low flush toilets, 44% are on that. That's huge, right? I think this high efficiency pre-rinse spray valves are going to be what's taken over.
Yeah.
If you can clean those plates off so you don't have to do 2 washes and you're getting that, you're just saving, you're just going to save a lot. Okay. Makes it easier for everybody as well.
One thing I find is people don't scrape enough.
No,
That's the biggest thing.
exactly.
Scrape. The food is there. They're not letting the food dry on. If you get a person that can scrape good, then you just need a little bit of water and that's it.
Exactly. Talking about that firing up and powering down equipment, right? What's running when we're not there, what needs to run while we're not there. Some things we can't avoid. Okay. So just some interesting facts and starting to think about, you know, what else is going on. This is what I'm going to pull this up and we're going to just have a conversation about this. Let's start talking about takeout stuff. Okay. Packaging supplies. What are we using? What equipment? What's illegal now? What has been banned in some states? What did we see? Let me get out of this.
There's a company I used to go through. They have these plates are made out of bamboo, plates, forks, everything recyclable. Wonderful. There's a company now that's making forks that you can eat.
Edible forks. Yep. Oh yeah.
Forks. Ridiculous.
It's awesome.
I would never have thought of anything like that.
Totally wild. They are making things.
Yeah.
Yep. It started with a guy in India, actually.
Those things are sturdy, but then when you bite them, you're like, what the?
You need to let it soak for a while in that soup.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah. Shannon, I see your head's up. What's up?
I was just gonna say, I work for Costco and I'm a forklift driver and I work in the freezer. And whenever we have things that code or on the floor, things that go bad or returns, we put them in the freezer. And we have a farmer that comes 3 times a week and picks them up for slop for the pigs.
There you go.
Here locally. And we just got done doing inventory, and our one store, there's 3 stores in Albuquerque, but our one store got credited $2.6 million for the year for donating food that coded or was returned.
And that would normally be
that is
dumped.
one store in one city, and we have 3 stores. So combined, we saved $10 million between the 3 stores. And we, as Costco, as an entity, have over 1,000 stores worldwide. So that kind of puts things in perspective. And it's all, they get connected with local farmers and donate. And we, not only that, but we have what's called a Roadrunner food service, and they come pick up stuff that hasn't coated yet, and they take it to the homeless shelters, and they feed the homeless with our food that we cannot sell.
And
And
that,
that also, and we
that
get
is
credit
awesome.
for all of that. And so we save millions and millions, and as an entity, it's billions worldwide. So
will-
it's just something to put in perspective.
I have to take my hats off to to Costco. I'm a big fan of Costco. One thing I will say, if you've never worked at a homeless shelter, and I have, when I was in the military, I used to take my soldiers there on holidays. So when we would be closed for a holiday, I would take my soldiers and we would go down there and volunteer. Couple of hours, doesn't take much. Go in, sometimes we would cook, sometimes we would serve. If you have never worked at a homeless shelter, I recommend it once in your life. It will change your life, and it will show you something about people. And it will show you something, one of the things that a lot of chefs are out there doing too. They're doing that. They can't transport cooked food, but a lot of them, if they know they're gonna, they've got too much of this or they got too much of that, they're donating, they're cooking. And I worked with one in New York who actually used to open his doors at he had another little piece on the side, and he would feed homeless people, because when he came to this country, he was homeless. He was working in a restaurant, but he was sleeping on the street.
Food pantries as well.
Yes.
Food pantries that take donations.
Yes.
That's wonderful as well for those who are low income that can't afford groceries.
If you go to Costco and you get one of those big cases of peanuts, you get one of those big cases of baker's flour, and you're not going to use all of that. You probably go through 3 or 4 boxes in a 6-month time frame. Donate a couple of boxes. They take everything and anything, and they are gracious.
100%.
It really helps with the population, especially in big metro areas.
Yep.
Where things are just really tight.
And in New York, this was, I did homeless shelters in New York, DC, Washington, DC, when I was in Texas. And I was actually shocked down in Texas, because Texas does a lot for homelessness, especially in San Antonio.
So there's tons of ways to get involved, class, especially when we think about being, the people that serve food, right? How do we reduce waste? How do we help the problems? Because we can be that change, okay? Whether it's in our house, or it's in our kitchen, what do we do with our remaining food waste? All of these factors are things that we need to be conscious and aware of. If you don't have kids, well, maybe your friends have kids and they have grandkids. We've got to protect the world for future generations. We can continue. We're going to be talking about sustainability next week with the oceans, which is going to be really interesting as well. But I want to just have you think about something. How much food do you waste in your own house when you purchase things and it spoils? Herbs, lettuce, vegetables, right? Just something to think about. Think about your storage, first in, first out, FIFO, right? That's why it's so important in restaurants, again, reducing food waste. Roger, I see your hand up. What's up?
I was gonna say, one way we can help with food waste is, it would be when I was in the military doing food service, and so you probably know that for as following a recipe card, a recipe, whatever recipe to the T.
Oh yeah.
You can't just be adding a little more of this or that, because you start to waste. You don't realize you started when it may say, military might say for servings or whatever, and you cook one, well, you just wasted or took away from something else. It also comes down to your management of, if you're a chef in the kitchen, you're ordering, whoever's ordering and not ordering something you don't need because it might end up spoiling, or then you have to give away. So you're managing everything by following the recipe card and the way you're ordering. The little things you do will stop the overkill waste, because we were in like
Roger, it's a little hard. Can
when I
you
was
move to
in
another part of your
Germany,
house? It's a little, I'm just gonna,
yeah,
for anybody who couldn't get it. Roger was saying that the importance of,
my age, but in 90, like 91, 92, back then the
Roger,
defects would have the civilians come, the German guys would come and get the slop.
Roger, your video is
one thing about
audio is not
that,
good.
when you have the, you getting the right stuff off of it.
The
It's making
audio is
our
not
food
good.
service manager look like he's a genius because he's getting the right stuff off that they're taking away that we probably shouldn't have wasted. So one thing I
Okay.
sorry, Roger, we had to put you down for a second, because it was a little bit hard. What Roger was saying was how important it is
is me
to stick to a recipe. Without
Yes.
sticking to that recipe, food
Two
waste.
chef for me.
Okay,
Was
we're
it you?
getting a lot of crosstalk.
Can you hear me, chef?
You were going in and out, Roger, but I know what you mean because I was stationed in Germany too, and we had that farmer that used to come by and pick up. One of the things he's talking about is, you always get, especially in military kitchens, you get cooks want to overcook. So, we have a production schedule. Production schedule says 50 servings of Salisbury steak. So if you've got a good ration person, is what Roger's talking about, person that orders the food. My ration man was on it. He had it to a T where if you needed 25 pounds of ground beef, daggone it, you were getting 25 pounds of ground beef. And you better be weighing out those, Salisbury steaks to the T. What that would do is, okay, let's say we cooked 50, we only served 45. Everything we had, and that's what I was saying earlier, we used to have that little slot bucket. We would put the slot buckets out back, and there's a German fella who used to come around and he would take our waste for the pigs. Now, the good thing about they had worked out some deal with the military dining facilities, which was good. So we would get a credit for that. But the other good thing about it was this man was feeding his pigs pretty much basically for free. So the sustainability and the fact that we didn't have to, because, trying to pick up trash over in Germany, oof, don't even get me started on that. The amount, they recycle everything over there. So just the different recycle bins you have, you're paying for each bin. So not having to have a separate food bin to be picked up, and this man coming to pick your stuff up, it helps save money. So when you're at a restaurant, if you have to make one serving of chicken piccata, you got to make 6 servings, whatever you're prepping. Make sure you're prepping just what you need. You're not wasting, is basically what his point was. So, but yeah,
Exactly.
you were fading in and out of there, Roger.
But we caught it, and it was a great point. So thank you for sharing,
Definitely.
Roger. We appreciate it.
And I can tell you that's one big place where there's a lot of food waste. The military, I saw bad managers, so I know exactly what Roger's talking about. Bad managers that didn't care, no, just use a case. No, well, there's 100 in a damn case. We only need, 65. So now we're going to throw away 35 good portions or overcook. For what? No, cook what's supposed to be cooked. That way you're cutting down on energy, you're cutting down on waste, and you can't take that stuff to a homeless shelter over there. They don't allow that food, food to be transferred like that. So why am I wasting time and wasting, Oh yeah, on shifts too, same thing.
Did it make you pay for it if you burnt it up, messed it up?
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. All right, what you got, Shannon?
I was gonna say, you can also give flowers like from the tables or your decor to the pigs as well. We have
Edible
fresh
flowers.
flowers at Costco, and every day that they deplete, we also give those to the pig farmer. So
telling
that's
you.
something to think about as well.
It is amazing what pigs will eat, but I tell you what, if you mix it with food, yeah,
Going down.
it's
I used to live on a farm and it was like all leftovers went out to the pigs. You just,
Yeah.
you eat and it went straight to the slop to the pigs.
yep.
Even chickens will
Yeah.
eat.
Yeah. And if you make a good deal, you know, depending upon where you live and the relationship that you have with the farmer, sometimes if you're giving them the food, you get a cut on buying a whole hog on the flip side of things, right? You've been feeding it the whole time. You've essentially been feeding it. So now you get a better deal and you know where it's coming from. It's full circle. It's again, sustainability, right?
And that was the thing I didn't mention. Like we had a luau and we're like, man, where can we get a pig? And it's like, wait, well, hold up. We've been, this guy
Feeding
comes
pigs.
every month, you know, or every 2 weeks to pick up our slop. He's a pig farmer. Ask him for a hog and his hogs were huge. Like we did a pig roast and we're like, yeah, well, we'll probably need 2. And he just looked at us like, no.
You know how big these hogs are? Yeah.
He looked at us like, no, 1 will do it. I'm like, no, like we're talking the whole like Kaiserslautern community is all American troops. There's like 3 or 4 different dining facilities. I'm like, are you sure 1? And he was not joking. When he brought that pig, we were like, holy, I don't even think we got anything big enough to cook it. But of course, we had a couple of Hawaiian soldiers. We buried it, and I'm telling you what, woo, man, it fed. I'd say that 1 hog fed about 400 people.
Makes sense.
Yeah, he was huge.
Awesome. I love it. LaSalle, I saw your hand up. Are you good now? Or Noah? I don't know when one of you two had your hands up, I think.
That was me, but you had already commented on what I was going to say.
Okay, right on.
Yeah, I had my hand up, Chel. What I was gonna say, even though if you're doing it at home and you're wasting food and you find yourself wasting food, don't get a food saver. Let your food cool down what you don't eat. Write your dates on it, the time you did it, put it back.
Seal it up. Yep.
Before that date ends, bring it back out and cook the remaining and heat it up and eat that.
Definitely. We're going to be talking about preservation later on in the course, which will entail freezing, smoking, drying, canning, preserving. Sustainability is really from the ground to the ground, right? What do landfills look like? How do we working with farmers? We can even talk about what is sustainability for farm workers, right? Migrant workers, right? We have to be thinking about this because it's not sustainable, right? If we treat certain workers poorly, right? Whether that's the industry, right? Okay, what we pay, insurance or not, the harvesters who are harvesting all of those onions. It's a lot of hard labor. It's sustainable. Sustainability goes, like I said, from the ground to the ground. What are we putting in? There's a lot of different laws that are happening. Styrofoam has been outlawed in a lot of states. Plastic bags have been, and I want to leave it on this note, and we'll wrap it up early. Think about this. We'll talk a little bit more next week about the different products. Do some research is what I'm going to say. Do some research into what products are looking for takeaway containers and takeaway packages. Start thinking about that. How much has increased with delivery? How many little packages have we just been actually disposing? Guess I have a suggestion for you. You're getting delivery to your house. Tell them, hey, I don't need the ketchup packets. I don't need the forks. I have got a bottle of ketchup and I've got a fork in here. All right.
You know what is
using
crazy
paper
though?
plates, right? Like,
do you like the containers they use now? Because most places, Olive Garden, and there's a lot of other different, like I know a lot of Italian restaurant places, the containers, if you look at the bottom, it states can be used to microwave.
Yeah.
These are containers you can continue to use. Don't just take that container, eat and throw it out. Yeah, it's like it's some of it is better than Tupperware, to be honest with you. So don't be throwing those containers away. Just be like, hey, you know, hey, I can save these.
Yeah.
You can cut down waste. You can use those containers to pre-make meals for your kids. When, you know, if you're a bodybuilder and you're doing pre-meals, you're going ahead pre-making your meals. Use this stuff. And that way you're cutting down, you're not going out having to buy Tupperware. You've got it right here. And honestly, I've got a couple in the cabinet that I've used. I've had at least 2-3 years.
That's how I share my food with the neighbors.
No, that's also, I was going to say, that's a perfect way when you're giving your giveaway and you don't even need it back. Like, here you go, pass it on.
A lot of the assignments my kids won't eat, and I'll taste it and I'll do my narrative and then I'll pack it up and then I'll just go to the neighbors and say, here you go. And they're so excited every week because they know I'm in school and I'm cooking. And I'll see them at the mailbox and they're like, what are you cooking this week? Are we included? And that's how, and they'll actually bring back my containers so I can give them some more.
So you can refill them. Yeah.
That's what I was waiting for. It's like, yo, you hand them next week's assignment and they're like, oh, by the way, hold on, I have your other one. And it's like, oh, well, shoot.
Yep.
Same thing, sustainability.
Yeah, we'll talk about that sorry, they actually started that concept in a pilot at one of the salad places, like a chain salad location with to-go boxes that were stirring, and then they returned them, washing. So my extra homework for you guys, which is just kind of fun. Obviously you don't have to do anything. I'm not expecting a paper. I just think that reading about this and being knowledgeable about this is so important. Okay. And I'll leave you on 2 notes. 1, think about this. Sustainability and being green is really important these days, right? Just like we're talking about vegetarian. So let's say Chef Eric and I have each have a restaurant next door to each other. We're both cranking out delicious food, like both is just on point. Chef Eric is doing, like, he's got bamboo utensils. He only puts certain ingredient, like things in his to-go package if it's asked for. He uses solar panels. He has low flow toilets. Me, on the other hand, I don't have any of that. Like, I don't care. I'm using styrofoam. I'm going for the cheapest products that I can get because I am trying to just crank out the food and make the most money. Well, where do you think guests are going to end up going in the end? It doesn't matter that my food is just as good at Chef Eric's, because Chef Eric's is going to have just as great food and is working on a sustainability and more for a cause, right? If you could, it's the same price, the same great food, but someone's doing a little bit better, or even if it's a little bit more, right? You want to put that, okay, it's a few pennies more. It's 50 cents. It's about 50 cents more or $1. But you know what? I believe in what Chef Eric is doing at his restaurant. I don't stand behind what Chef Catherine is. I think she could be doing more about moving forward for sustainability for future generations. I want to support Chef Eric because I believe in that sustainability movement. See how you can gain and lose customers in this? So I just want to leave you on that one to start thinking about, right? Sometimes there's a little bit of
thing is, Chef Eric would go next door and we'd make slow changes, because that's what it takes. It's nothing needs to be bam, 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 except Roger will attest to this. In the military, they try to change everything overnight. Small, tiny changes. Hey, Catherine, you know what? Just with your to-go boxes, just use these. These styrofoam things are great, man. I'm telling you, and they're, keeps the food hotter and blah, 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 blah. She starts with that. Now, like she said, she's lost customers, but it's like, hey, Chef Catherine's using these now. What? Really? Now you start getting customers back, because that's what it's about. Yeah, it's a competition. Everybody's trying to make the top dollar, but we have to do what's right for the world, for our kids, for our grandchildren, for great-grandchildren, for the great-great-great-grandchildren we may never meet.
Exactly. So remember, we have a huge part in this as chefs. Sometimes people think, oh, you're just a cook.
Huge.
We're so much more than that. Okay, we have the power to change. So remember what power we have. All right. and think about straws, and don't forget live session, study hall, Friday, demo at Touffet, Rue. Hold off if you're not feeling confident. Watch Chef Kathy rock it out. And next week we'll talk more about sustainability. So check it out.
Sounds good.
See y'all later.
All right, everyone have a great night.
Bye, everybody. Thank you, Chef
Get some
Eric.
good
Bye.
food.
Bye.
All
All
right.
right, Chef.
Great to have you
That
back,
little
Chef.
guy. Who's that little guy, Rudolph?
That's my grandson.
Oh,
Okay.
hey, buddy.
How you doing?
Buddy.